I hope that you're having a fantastic day. Welcome to Webinar Thursday. Actually, we're mixing it up this week and keeping you on your toes. So hello to everyone who has already joined us. If you would be so bold as to drop a comment in the chat, let us know how you are and where you're from, how your week is going. Do you have any interesting plans for 4th of July? I was reading or listening to a podcast the other day, and they were talking about a fireworks shortage. And so some places are just doing like pyrotechnic shows. So just the fire and not the works, I guess. But so hop in, let us know how you are and where you're from. And we are going to go ahead and get started. So I am here with Sarah Gilbert. And Sarah, I just realized I did not put in like our introductory slide. So we'll just have to
That's all right.
on the go. So I am going to share my screen. Let me play this here. All right. I lied. It's going to take me just a second. So feel free to talk amongst yourselves. Oh, but I see you guys are in the chat. So thank you for doing that. We appreciate it. Always good to hear from you and what you guys have going on and what you are doing. All right. Let me grab. Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about content, how you can turn content into beautiful books to grow your brand. So let us know if you're creating content already, and if not, what you have going on. All right, so I've got this over here. So I've got two screens going. There we go. I'm getting there. It's happening. All right. Does that look like a presentation? There we go. All right, let's see if I can make this larger. All right, cool. So we're doing it. All right. So as I mentioned, we are here to talk about how content creators can use books to grow their brand and increase revenue. So let us know what kind of content you're creating. Are you a content creator? Would you like to be one? Have you written books already? And what are they about if you have? So feel free to hop in, get familiar with the chat. Thank you so much to Leah, Tom, Jurgen, Tammy, F.R. Leonard, Tammy, and Janicki for saying hello and hopping in. We appreciate that. So as I mentioned, today we're here for it. We're going to hop right in. I am Chelsea, and I will be co-piloting this today, and I'm here with Sarah Gilbert.
Hi, I'm Sarah Gilbert, e-commerce marketing manager at Lulu. Happy to be here.
And we are happy to have you. All right. So a little bit about us to get started. If you were unfamiliar and somehow you stumbled into this webinar without knowing who or what a Lulu is, we are Lulu. So Lulu is a real word. I always like to remind people it's a remarkable person, object, or idea. We were founded in 2002 by Bob Young. So we just celebrated our 20th birthday in February. So very exciting there. Our publishing platform is free to use. We published over 3 million books and paid out over $117 million in author revenue, a staggering figure. And we hope today that by going through some of this information that you can get in on some of that sweet, sweet cash. Oh, Father Leonard. Okay. Thank you, Leonard. I was unfamiliar with that abbreviation. So thank you for clarifying. All right. So our mission at Lulu is that we are dedicated to making the world a better place, one book at a time, through sustainable practices, innovative print-on-demand products, and a commitment to excellent service. So I always like to share this. If you've been to any of our webinars, you've probably heard me cover this, but I always like to share that Lulu is a B Corp. We were a proud B Corp, or a proud member of the B Corp community. So if you're not familiar with what B Corps are, they are for-profit companies certified by the nonprofit B Lab to meet these standards of social, environmental, performance, accountability, and transparency. So what that means is that we care about the environment, and we care so much that we partnered with a third party to help keep us accountable in our efforts to do better business for the planet, for our employees, and for all of you great folks out there. So if you're not familiar with B Corps, I know it's scary, but the holidays are just around the corner. And if you would like to spend your dollars in a more sustainable or ethical way, then check out the community of B Corps. All right, so we're talking about how content entrepreneurs can use books to grow their brand and increase revenue. And so in this high-tech, digital, NFT, Web3, crypto world that we live in today, why books? Do people even still read books? Well, they do. We're excited to say that they do. And that books can be a really great and intentional way for you to create something that adds a lot of value to your community and to your audience, and just offers them another way to support you and connect with you in your content. So what I'm going to start with here is just showing a smattering of examples of what you can create on Lulu. So I put this slide together. I will say that this is, it's like trying to pick your favorite child. Like, I don't have children, but I would imagine that's hard. Sarah, you have kids. You probably couldn't pick a favorite. If you
They're all my favorites. Yes.
Exactly.
Answer. Right.
Exactly. So when you publish over 3 million books, that's a lot to choose from. So I tried here in this slide to share a good range of content that we've seen published on Lulu's platform, so I can kind of help you get the creative juices flowing of what kind of different forms and shapes your content can take. So you'll see as I go through these that it doesn't have to be just a novel. It doesn't have to be just a fiction trilogy, which I think, myself included, when you think about self-publishing, a lot of people can think, well, I haven't really written my novella yet, or I haven't put together my epic. It doesn't have to look that way. And the content you already have probably lends itself really nicely to some printed material. So I will go through these quickly and kind of call out some examples that I think may be helpful to you or good points of reference. So up at the top, we've got How My Ancestors Drank Whiskey. So this is just, again, a classic fiction novel with a really beautiful cover. So I like getting started with that one because I think that's what a lot of people think of when they think self-published, is the classic fiction 6x9 paperback. Right under that, we have West Virginia Wasteland Bestiary. So I really like this one. This is really more of a comic book or a graphic novel. This is a really cool idea, but basically it's set in a post-apocalyptic West Virginia, and it's kind of an anthology or a dictionary even of all the creatures and animals they come across in this scenario. So really fun and creative product there. Under that, a very adult coloring book. So F this, I'm coloring. If you can't say it, why not color it? So not for the faint of heart, but we see a lot of coloring books come to Lulu. We've got another one on this slide that I'll get to in a minute. Above that and a little bit over, you can see Today is the Day. This is a low or no content example that I wanted to share with you. So the author of this book creates multiple planners every single year with just different covers. So the interior file remains the same. Again, that no or low content publication where it's just blank pages or maybe a couple prompts or a planner type layout so that you as the reader, as the owner of this journal, can really make it your own. So you can use the same interior file and create, a handful of different covers, or even invite your readers and followers and fans to ask you or let you know what their favorite colors are, or, let them have the ability to customize that in a couple of different ways. So we always like to see those as well. Directly under that is A is for Apperdu. This is one of my favorite children's books on Lulu. It's a square book and just really beautiful illustrations and a really fun story there. So children's books, of course, welcome to our platform as well. So if we go up above that, we have New York Punk. So this is a photo book chronicling punk in New York in the 70s. So a really cool project. Above that, we have Tiny Home Big Flava. So these folks who made this book, it's a cookbook. It also has its own playlist, which I think is very cool. But the folks that made this are Justin and Juby. They are Instagram influencers. They lived in a bus for several years, but they talk a lot about what that was like. They traveled quite a bit. They've got a young daughter, and they're restoring a house right now. So just always sharing their travels and adventures and recipes and home improvement type things that they're working on. So they noticed that their audience really resonated with the fact that they're very much plant-based. They always source local ingredients. That is very important to them. So they're able to take that content that was already performing well and turn it into a stunning book. Right above that, we've got The Secret Life of Speaking Up, this was written by a woman who helps coach people on public speaking, which could either terrify or thrill you, or maybe somewhere in the middle. But she wrote this little pocketbook. It's very tiny trim size, and it's just different exercises. And as you're going throughout your day, how to kind of find your voice and become more confident in the way that you're moving about life and the way that you're speaking to other people. Right across from that, we got Big Bellied Merbabes, one of my favorites, but another fun take on a coloring book, a body positive coloring book. I love that idea. And again, a coloring book, depending on your level of skill in a Photoshop program or doing illustrations, again, kind of low content because you just have to put the image up there and then invite folks to make it their own. So under that is another social media star turned published author. So You Must Be This Tall to Exit the Park is based on the Twitter account Fake Theme Park by Jason Ginsburg. A lot of hilarious tweets as if he were working in a theme park, and then he put those together after they got very popular into a book. Under that, we've got the nutrition code. So a woman who wants to speak to nutrition and how you can really make sure that you are eating the right foods that make sense for you. So great example of self-publishing there. Right beside her, we have the incredible, the fabulous Tika the Iggy. So this is another pet influencer, which is a thing in the day that we live in. So Tika the Iggy has a very, very popular Instagram account. She, as she is doing in this cover photo, wears fabulous gowns and all kinds of incredible outfits that will put your wardrobe to shame. And so they took her most popular post and some of the best photos or most popular photos that she shared on her Instagram account, plus a few others, and made a really beautiful calendar. So if you are in that space of, you're a photographer, or maybe you have a pet that has gotten some notoriety online, or to be honest, even any pet, who doesn't love a pet calendar? So these make great gifts. But if you are in that space, creating a calendar around the holidays can be a great way to grow your brand and raise some money as well. Above that is When We See Ourselves. So this is an anthology of Black and Asian stories, just helping the marginalized voices and sharing stories of going through times that maybe not everyone has gone through, sharing your story, amplifying your voice so that other people who are going through these similar experiences can get through them and know that they're not alone. So we love to see really purpose-driven work come to Lulu. And so it's a really great example of that. Last but not least, 52 Weeks of Awesome Leadership. Very exciting. That's just a great book for professionals, of course. So this one is a really good example of someone who is in the business space, in the leadership space, and was able to use the information that they knew, the knowledge that they had accrued through working with different leaders and developing businesses, and create a really beautiful book that will help walk you through a year of really wonderful leadership. So now, with each of these, you could say that obviously you're a published author, but for somebody like Michelle in this last example, now she's a subject matter expert on leadership, and now she has the book to back that up. So that can provide more opportunities for her as she goes throughout her profession and her career. All right, so next up. So the thing that I touched on was books that offer an incredible opportunity for versatility. So we had paperback, hardcovers, comic books, children's books, calendars, coloring books, cookbooks, photo books. So we really run the gamut, and you can create whatever you feel like is really going to speak to your audience. So it doesn't have to be one thing or the other. And that's what I love about independent publishing and just about the world that we live in now, is that what you create and the way that you interact with your audience doesn't have to look like anything you've seen before. You can create something completely bespoke and customized for your audience and the information they are coming to you to get. So that is the product and the conduit of what you can do. So the books are the way to do it. But how can books grow your brand and your community? So on this slide, I touched on this a little bit previously with some of those examples. But in this slide, I really wanted to drill into how you can use a book to grow your brand and your community. So as I mentioned, it can help you build credibility. So maybe you want to go on a speaking tour or a book of speaking engagement. Having the ability to say, I wrote the book on this, is going to put you head and shoulders above others that may not have that experience. Being able to put author in your name and say, hey, I literally wrote the book on leadership. I would love to do a speaking engagement, or I'd love to help, teach your business about this or your leaders about this. So that can really help build credibility when you're able to say, I have this book that I've written, I invested in myself, and you can see this end product. It also helps you establish expertise. So again, being able to say, I wrote the book on leadership, or being able to take all the knowledge that you have and publish it into a book, you're now the subject matter expert. So that's a great way to just illustrate that you know what you're talking about, and you have, several pages of content that prove that. It also helps you diversify your portfolio. So perhaps you are a consultant, or you're working with businesses on how to develop a social media strategy, or you're doing online sessions or coaching or things like that. This adding a book to your listing of the offerings that you have is a great way to diversify your portfolio while adding value. So you may be in the position where you're selling consulting services, or you're doing some kind of group or individual coaching. At times that can come with a hefty price tag. So instead of having that as the only opportunity for people to support you or buy your products or interact with your services, you could also have a book that is maybe a smaller version or a scaled down version of what they would experience in the course, or even a workbook or something like that, so that maybe folks who aren't ready to dive in and purchase one of these items for the higher price tag can still support you and get a feel for what kind of content you're going to share, what your style is, how you're speaking to them, and what kind of content you can create, and kind of get that hook in for those larger expenses, or maybe booking a bigger opportunity with you. So books are also great to create lead magnets. So you can do this a couple of different ways. Maybe you buy a box of books in bulk and then you sell them at in-person events or through your own website. And every single book that you sell, you put in a postcard that says, hey, did you like this? Go to my website and you can book a session with me to continue the training. Or how did you like my book? Go to this website and leave me a review or follow me on social media. So a book, and especially if you start thinking about it like, maybe I'll provide this ebook for free, or maybe I will give out this book for free. That can be a great way to establish trust, build some credibility for your brand, and create a sales funnel so that when people finish the book or kind of get to a certain point at it, they see that call to action and they can come back to you for other services or opportunities that you may have available for them. Books also create or generate passive income. So this is one of the great things about writing a book is I won't tell you that it's easy. Anything that you do that's well done is going to take time and intentionality and just an investment. So I'm not going to tell you that you can just do it today and achieve your goals with it. Of course, you could be a super talented human being and maybe you can. But when you create a book and you put it up, the good news is you don't have to keep monitoring it. You can make it available for sale and then just let the sales roll in. If you integrate with our e-commerce solution or you have a way to accept sales through your website, it's super hands-off process. The orders are printed and fulfilled. That whole process is automated by Lulu. So you don't have to worry about inventory or packing parties. You can create this product, let it live on your website, and just watch the orders roll in without having to have a hands-on involvement on a regular basis. So you can also leverage your book for other opportunities. So I've kind of spoken a little bit about those thus far, but we hear people all the time that, kind of think that the book will be the ends. Like once I publish my book, I'm going to make a ton of money and I'm going to sell my, all my possessions and go ahead and invest in that yacht or quit my job or whatever. And again, maybe you can and maybe you will. And that's amazing. And we hope that happens for you. But another way to look at it that will be maybe a bit healthier or more approachable, I would say, would think about the book as the means to an end and not the ends in itself. So what I mean by that is just thinking about the book as a way to open the door for you for other opportunities. So I've already mentioned speaking engagements as one. When I say, hey, I wrote the book on this, can I come and speak to your group or your audience about that? As an aside, you could also maybe in that conversation say, I don't have a speaker fee, but if you buy books for everyone in the audience, that would be great. Or, I have this speaker fee, but can I also sell books at this event? So a couple ways to kind of tie those in together. A book also gives you a good pitch for interviews on different podcasts or shows that you may like. So once you've written the book on it, you can do a press tour and pitch yourself as an expert on these subjects. So that's always a great way to think about it as well. A podcast series. Does the content in your book lend to a podcast? Does it lend to a YouTube channel? Can you pull out different chapters and expand on them in a video format or an audio format? A lot of podcasts and YouTube series kind of intersect. So a podcast can also be a YouTube channel and vice versa. So that's another way to think about it. Webinars. So what we're doing here today. So maybe you wrote a book and you really didn't get to dive into the content as much as you wanted to in a certain chapter, or maybe your research has led you to more conclusions or just a wider understanding of a certain topic. Take it to a webinar. That can be a great way to engage with your audience, really connect with them on a one-on-one level and share some new information that may be interesting to them. And last but not least, online courses. So I've said this many times, when you write a book, you're the expert. You know it, you wrote about it. So maybe, again, that content will lend itself to a virtual course, an online course where you can record yourself kind of walking through the modules or walking through the training and then repurposing that content as an online course. Also, you could create some supplemental material with a workbook or planner that might go with that. So again, just the opportunities are really endless when you start to look at the book as just a stepping stone to wider opportunities that may be available to you once you've established yourself and kind of proven that you know what you're talking about and you can create high quality products. And again, last but not least, creating a book also just provides your fans with another opportunity to support you that may be at a more affordable price point if they can't kind of go all in on some other services or products that you may be offering.
All right. So let's talk about what kind of books I can make. Chelsea gave us a great overview of the different ways that you can take your expertise and bring it out in book form. So let's talk about what you might not know that you can make. So you want to go on to the next slide. So one thing I want to, say here too is when I speak to authors all the time, sometimes they don't really know that they're authors yet. These are people who have created content and they don't really understand that they have a book in them. They don't picture themselves as an author. I know just from reading the comments here, a lot of people here are already authors, which is great. But today, maybe I challenge you to think about other ways that you can take the content you have and expand on the books that you have already made, and different things that you can do to move forward with different types of content. So you probably have all of the content you already need. So what we want to say here is that, you are an expert in whatever subject matter, or you are somebody who you've created a following, or you have a specific expertise that you can share with the world. So one thing that you can do is by taking the different parts of content that you've made and create a book. So you can take top performing blog posts or articles. And so if you have years worth of blogs, I'm sure you could go back and pull the top 12 blogs, maybe polish them up, make them relevant to current day if there are things in them that are timely and need to change. Add a table of contents, come up with a great title to capture the essence of the blogs. And then there you go, you have a book. You could also take your top performing social posts. We see this happen all the time. One of my favorite examples of this is, it's a traditionally published book, but Lin-Manuel Miranda, the Broadway star, he tweeted for years a good morning and a good night tweet, and they just went crazy. Of course, he already had a following, so this is apples to oranges here. But anyway, effortlessly, his team put it into a book that became like a New York Times bestselling book. So that's like one of my favorite examples. Like, just simple things like that actually can turn into books. Photos and artwork, for those of you who have a specific expertise of a visual kind, it's very valuable to pull together maybe a collection of your favorite photos, or the examples that Chelsea showed us at the beginning, the things that could pull together as a book visually. Workbooks. This is huge. And, one of the top ways that you can generate a revenue stream online is by offering a course or a class. There are oftentimes workbook that needs to go with it. Another thing you can do is, if you are like a coach or somebody who is in the consulting business, you can create a workbook or a manual to help go with whatever subject matter you're teaching that will be the takeaway for your clients. And so, they're taking notes along the process of you coaching and consulting with them. Calendars, this is always something fun, and you can actually encapsulate, if you're an artist, your visual content with a calendar, or maybe if you have some zingers or taglines that you want to pull in and make some fun 12 months worth of content that people would enjoy from things that you've said or that have come about from your work. That's a great thing to do. And then Chelsea was talking about too, in the examples that she showed, low and no content publishing. So if you think of like planners, journals, and notebooks, sometimes a notebook or a journal might have in it, a quote on every 10th page, or it might not have any quotes on it at all. It might just have something that's inspirational on the cover or on the front of the book to pull back into something personal to you. So low and no content publishing actually sells very well. And then, you can also go along with other things like your online classes. If you don't have a full workbook, you can offer this as a product that goes with something else that you're doing. There was an author who is on Lulu right now who does cookbooks. And one of the things that she offers is a meal planner. So like for a meal planner, it's a low, no content publishing. Basically, it's a calendar of weekly, and she has it organized where it coordinates with a shopping list that you develop. So that was something that she developed that was basically a very low content publishing alternative for her customers. And it's a way for her to monetize her expertise. All right, let's go to the next slide. So let's talk about how you're going to do this. I saw somebody in the comments talk about, having a link to Lulu Commerce on from their website. But, over the years, we have listened to customers and what they want. And one of the things that we've heard for, over 10 years is people want a way to sell their books on their website and Lulu to fulfill them. So we're going to talk about how we can do that today. So the first way is Lulu Direct. Well, there are several ways to accomplish this. I'm going to try to keep it very simple. So it's based on whichever platform you're using for your website. Today, we have options for WordPress sites, Shopify sites, and then if you have the coding skills to build your own integration with an e-commerce provider, then there's also that. So Lulu Direct is what we call the ability for you to take a book, sell it on your site, your customer checks out, and then we fulfill that. And there's no, you going from one website to the other and inputting all the address information and actually placing the order. It's kind of hands off if you set it up correctly. So the way Lulu Direct works with WordPress is you create the book in your Lulu account, and then you connect your WordPress account to your Lulu account. And then when the book is sold on your WordPress account through WooCommerce, which is what they have as their e-commerce plugin, we print it and ship it with also the ability to white label that, which means that when your customer receives the box of whatever book it is, it's branded to you. The box, the return label doesn't have anything on it that would say who the provider is, but on the inside, there's a shipping insert that you can design and have your order number on it, your logo on it, if you want to have a message to your customers on it. So it's another touch point for your brand along the way. Excuse me. So Lulu Direct works with Shopify as well. So you'll see the two Venn diagrams here at the top. We've got Shopify, and then we have WooCommerce. WooCommerce I just talked about. WooCommerce goes with WordPress. Shopify is a platform that is a platform and an e-commerce system all in one. So if you hear me talk about WooCommerce, WordPress, that's one, and then Shopify is the other. So with Shopify, you can go on their website, you can make your own website. It's a pretty intuitive system. It takes you from step to step, asks you the right questions that it needs to know to make your website. And it accomplishes the same thing on Shopify. In the Shopify store, today there is an app called Lulu Direct. And if you search for that, all of the tools that you need are there to hook up your Lulu book with your Shopify account. I see that Bill in the comments says he uses Wix and Shopify, and Lulu Direct works great. So that is a little trick. So if you're on here and you're kind of bummed right now because you're not using WordPress or Shopify, maybe you have another platform that you already have your website established on. I'm not going to say go create a whole new website at this point, because it probably is not worth it unless you're considering doing that anyway. But one trick that a lot of people use is they just use the e-commerce aspect of Shopify. So you can create a Shopify store, set up your Lulu book, and then you can pull that into the website that you already have. So that's another trick of the trade there. So some of the points of why you want to do this. We've talked a lot about branding here today, and things are moving in a direction in the e-commerce land of being able to own your customer data. So, there was a quote that a former Amazon exec said one time that they said that Amazon isn't I'm going to not get this 100% right, by the way, but it's like Amazon is not a store, it's a data company. So they're selling products because they want to get the customer data. They want to have all of the email addresses to market to. They want to know all about their customers so that they can understand how to sell more things. So essentially, if you're offering your book on your website, Chelsea talked earlier, it can be a point of lead generation. This is something where you can build your email list. You're keeping your customer data, and it's something that's kind of in the e-commerce world, it's the gold right now that you want to hold on to. So the benefits are automated print and fulfillment. So you like I said, you're not going to have to turn around and place orders every time orders come in. You can go to the pool on the 4th of July and not have to worry about orders being placed that you're not going to tend to immediately, because it should be, if you set it up right, a seamless process, whereas books are ordered, the order is placed, the order is sent to Lulu, we print, ship, and fulfill it for you. You keep 100% of the revenue. This is huge. So, what happens is your customer buys from you at a price you set, and then the system is set up that it's going to take from you how much the print cost is. So the difference you keep. So if it costs, let's say $10 to print and ship your book, and you're charging $25 for it, $15 is what you keep in that equation. Retain customer data. This is something, like I said, that's really important, especially if you're trying to do this and take it from hobby side hustle to almost like part-time, full-time employment, which, by the way, like Chelsea said, it doesn't happen immediately unless you have a lot of talent and a good stroke of luck. But about 2 years, we've heard, is the average time that you can develop this business. So along the way, you want to be developing your customer mailing lists here. And, if you're a business customer, these might be people who would consult with you at a different time, or they might be people who would engage in your online classes. Or if you are, let's say you're an artist, they might attend an event you have. But you having that data means that you're not hoping people find you. You are actually reaching out to them as needed. So there's no inventory management, which is nice. No garage or basement full of books that you're trying to sell, which is great because it means you can also keep your product up to date. So if you have a calendar, you don't have to worry about what am I going to do with all these 2022 calendars in the middle of the year. You can update it for 2023 in the system, and then you're good to go. And then I talked a little bit about white label shipping, but what that means, again, is that this process is branded to you. There are tools that we've developed that will help you create the shipping inserts and things where it looks like you're fulfilling this, and we're just behind the curtain on this. So for more information on this, there's a URL right there, sell on your site. And if you go to Lulu, sell on your site, and that's kind of where you'll find that. So the last thing I'll talk about, and I'll talk about this pretty briefly, is we have something called the Lulu API we've had for a while. What this is it's for people who have the talent to code. So if you have a website and you like to go behind the scenes and code everything yourself, this accomplishes the same thing that Lulu Direct does. It ties our fulfillment network to your ordering system, but the API, we give you all of the documentation and the code needed to set it up yourself. So if you're scratching your head right now, you're like, I wonder if I can do that. If you don't know what an API is and you've never done it before, it's a pretty highly technical process. If you do know what it is, this might be the best way for you to do it.
Great. Thank you, Sarah. It's such a rough transition to go from API to Tiger King. But we're not gonna be talking about Tiger King very much. But so we talked a little bit about why you might want to use books, the versatility afforded to you by choosing to create a book. We talked about the kind of content that you may want to use, and then the methods of how you'll sell your books once you get everything up and running. So now I want to share with you just some examples of what this actually looks like. And Christopher, I know that you were also a part of our course, so no spoilers. You may have seen some of these before, but we'll hop in. All right. So Clever Girl Finance is one of my favorite examples. I really love what she's doing, but she is a direct user. And so this woman just created a whole business on helping folks achieve financial freedom. And so who doesn't want to know how to do that? It's very, very important to have an eye on your finances and understand, where your money's going instead of wondering where it went. So all of this information that can really be helpful and beneficial. And she's done a great job of coordinating it and curating it in a way that is digestible for people. So an interesting thing about Clever Girl Finance is that she has other books as well. And those are traditionally published. So I like using her as an example because she is a great illustration of how it doesn't have to be either or. I mean, we get the question all the time of, should I go Amazon or Lulu, or should I go Ingram Spark or Lulu, or should I try to get traditionally published, or should I self-publish? And I'm excited to tell you that today you don't have to deal with those questions. It doesn't matter. You can create the ecosystem that works best for you. And this is a great example of someone who's done that. So she has books that have been traditionally published on, financial literacy and how to, maintain and empower yourself through understanding your finances. But she also has this supplemental material of this life planner and this business planner. Again, an example of low or no content publications that she can create. And I'm sure I was going to say easily, but I want to get away from saying that because I'm sure she spent a lot of time making sure that this was right for her audience. But this is just another example of a few other revenue streams that she's created for herself to help support her main products. So not only is she doing consulting and courses, she's obviously got articles and podcasts and shops and all of those things. So this is just another example of something she's included to help diversify her revenue stream while adding value to her audience. One other thing I want to say about, sorry, Sarah. Were you going to say something? Okay. No. One other thing I was going to say about her creating the supplemental material is if you are creating something that's a nonfiction work specifically, you can really play around with this idea of workbooks or guides or planners to help people get more out of your content and experience it and interact with it the way that you intend so that they'll get the most out of your product. So another plug for supplemental material or, low or no content publishing. All right, so this next example is Darren Smith. He is the owner of Craftsman Creative. You can see this screen grab from his website. He is also a direct user, but I wanted to share his example because not only does he have a beautiful book that is just kind of extrapolates off of the content he was working on and creating already of how to grow your business as a creative entrepreneur, but he also is saying buy 2 copies of Craftsman Creative and get a limited first edition NFT, which is a really cool crossover of these very digital native ideas versus a tangible physical product. So I know that a lot of times people will think, oh, well, books, are people buying books anymore? Are they just doing ebooks or audiobooks, or are they just listening to podcasts? Well, it's all the above. I mean, everyone has a different way of how they like to interact with content. There are still people that like having the real book in their hands and just kind of interact with content better that way, or able to absorb information better that way. So I think that Darren is doing something really interesting and exciting by coupling these NFTs and the actual physical copy of his book. And also, it's not lost on me that he's saying buy 2 copies of the book and get an NFT. So smart move there. And I just really like this example of someone who's really thinking about the process of publishing and of selling books in a really new and fresh way. And I think kind of able to reach a larger audience that may not have been browsing in a bookstore, may not have been searching for books online, but maybe they're looking for information on how to grow their business or NFTs, and they're able to find him in that cross section. So I love that example as well. All right, I think maybe this is the last example I've got for y'all today. So last but not least is Beyond Body. So Beyond Body is one of our API users. And I wanted to share an example of the API because if you are able to take advantage of the API, it can offer a truly customizable and bespoke experience for you and your audience, if that makes sense for you. So for Beyond Body, it's a necessity. They have to be able to customize every book based on the end user. And the reason why they do it that way is because you go to their website, you answer a quiz about your fitness level, your body type, your experiences, how you relate to food and all these different things. And then by your answers on that quiz, they're able to make a bespoke custom book for you and your body, your eating habits to get you on the path to success, however you outline that or whatever that looks like for you. So everyone that comes to the Beyond Body website, every book that they make is different. I mean, it has your name on it. It has information about you. It walks you through your specific plan. And so, of course, as Sarah mentioned, this takes more work on the front end. They have to develop the quiz, figure out how to feed that into the system. But once that order is placed, the rest of it is automated. So if you are in a sector or you're working on content that can be very bespoke like this, so of course, this is a nutrition plan, which everybody's going to be different the way they interact with food and fitness. Another example of this was astrological planners or natal astrological planners specifically. So for that, and astro planners, I can't remember the name of them right now, but another API user who essentially you go to their website, fill out a form where you say the exact time and date you were born, and then they're able to create a book for you based on the way that the stars were aligned at your birth and what that may mean for you, throughout the rest of your life. So another really interesting way to use that information there. So if you are in a space where you're looking for a very customized and personal product for your end users, then the API might be worth exploring.
All right, so let's talk about how you can do this. How can I get started? So it sounds like a lot of people here already have a book. Not everybody, of course. I'm just kind of after reading the comments, but a lot of people do have a book already. Maybe it's on Lulu. So we'll talk about how you can get started to take advantage of some of these options that we have for selling. So there's 5 basic steps to publish, print, and prosper. So what we said earlier about the idea that we want you to have the sales option that you want, whether that's through Lulu or on your website. Chelsea said, like, make your own ecosystem. How do you want to do it? You can have it your way. This is kind of like Burger King in that situation. So, like, you can sell it however you want to. And then I also wanted to address one of the questions that came through about selling privately, because that is something that we can also make happen. But so you choose what content you want to publish, choose the trim size, and download templates. And so on the Lulu website, where we have the publishing tools here, there are actual templates you can use. And we were talking about no content like journals and things like that. We offer templates for those as well. Format your interior and design cover files. And we give you all the specs to be able to do this. And then you can upload to Lulu and order a proof copy. The proof copy is going to be that one copy that you order, because you definitely want to make sure you have it in your hands and it looks and feels like you want it to before you open it up to others to buy. And then you can go live on your website. So whether that is on lulu.com that you sell it or on a website that you have, that is the basic process that you can do. So one of the questions that was asked was, can you make it private so not everybody can buy that? You can do that on your website in a variety of ways. We also have a way on lulu.com where there's an access level called direct access, where only people who have a link can buy it. So you would have to facilitate how you deliver that to people if it's not something that you want to make public. So yeah, those are all the steps to getting the book live. Seems pretty easy. It's something where, if you need help with the design aspects of it, you might want to hire a graphic designer to help you do it. A beautiful book. There's a lot of hard work that goes into it for sure, but we've tried to make it as easy as possible for you.
All right, let's round it out with some free sources for you all. So if you're not familiar with our blog, we update it regularly. We have a ton of information. We as I said, update regularly for authors, how to publish successfully, content creators. Paul, who is our resident blogger, also will write product reviews pretty regularly as well. So check that out if you haven't already. We've also got the Lulu knowledge base. So this is any and all Lulu questions. You can go here to type in your search and get more information. This is also a place where you can submit support tickets if you need help. And then last but not least is Lulu University. So if you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please, we would appreciate it if you go like and subscribe while you're there. But again, just another place for you to see our content on how to write books, how to do a cover, how to format, growing your e-commerce brand. And we also upload our webinars to our YouTube channel as well. So if you are not subscribed, please do so. All right, so we are coming down to the end of the hour, and I would love to open it up for questions now. So we do have a Q&A tab. I see some of you have found that. But Murphy, I see your question, so I'll start with that one. Does Lulu allow for 2 email accounts? So when the author dies, the other designated email on the Lulu account can manage the account. So Murphy, I don't think we have a way to do 2 email accounts. And Sarah, if you know more on this, feel free to hop in. But I believe the process would be you just have to reach out to support and explain to them, that situation if and when it happens, and then they can work with you to regain access for the account. I don't know if we have a recovery email option, actually, Sarah. I don't know if you.
Yeah, I think in cases where sadly this has happened before, there is a process where our support team would review any kind of, the prudent documentation that like an executor of a will would typically provide to turn over this, because you're turning over assets. Of course, to get ahead of this and the digital aspect of it, it would be great if you had somebody designated. You could go ahead and leave that person your logins if you felt comfortable enough to do that. So that's probably the best scenario for that. Yeah.
So thank you for that question.
So let's look. I'm going to pop over to the Q&A. Question from David: is it possible to have a book in global distribution only via Lulu and also the same book for sale via Lulu shop only? I think you're asking, is it possible to have the same book for sale on Lulu and in global distribution? That you can absolutely do that. If I'm reading that question right. If I'm not, maybe a clarification would be nice. And then to answer a question from William, can you supply ISBN for publications? Yes, we do supply ISBNs. Or you can bring one of your own if you already own one through the ISBN agency. The other thing about that is if you have a book that you're selling on your own website through Lulu Direct, you don't necessarily have to have an ISBN on that book. You know, the benefit and the purpose of an ISBN is to track the distribution and sales. If you sell it on your own website, that tracking is not intact, which means like you're just selling something through your site as you would a service or a product or a good. So the ISBN would not go into play there. But if you have it on the back of your book, that's not going to be anything that is problematic there.
Perfect. And I see that Bill asked thoughts on magazines in this day and age. So I'm going to assume that you're asking, magazines as a product type. So creating a magazine to sell. So we do have those on Lulu. We have a handful of magazines that do really well. We have wedding magazines. There's a Black culture magazine that we have that is very cool. And we also have a few others that I've seen come through that kind of span the gap of architecture or event planning or, different things like that. So I would say the question you need to ask yourself is, does your audience want a magazine? Do you know who your audience is? And is that something that is that a way that they want to digest content? So to say that magazines are, not popular or are a popular product type, it really all depends on who your audience is and the kind of content you're going to be sharing. If it's highly visual or short article form is the way that you write, then that sounds like a perfect opportunity to create a magazine. But again, if you're not sure if that's something that would be a success, the great thing about print on demand is you can create one and see how it goes. And if it's something you want to recreate, continue down that path. And if it's something that you think this really didn't hit the mark the way that I thought it would, then you can kind of put it to the side. Another way to sort of beta test this or get some feedback is just to ask your audience and ask your fans and friends and followers, hey, I'm kind of thinking about putting this content in a magazine. Is that something you'd be interested in? Another way to look at this or something that might be helpful for you in this stage would be going to Lulu's pricing calculator. So if you go to lulu.com/pricing, you can put in the specifications of your magazine. So if you have an idea of, I think we have set trim sizes. So if you have an idea of what you want the trim size to be, and then you have an idea of the page count, or you can just at least get an idea of what the price would be. And then you can take that to your audience and your friends and fans and say, hey, if I made a magazine, I think it would be about $12 per issue plus shipping. Is this something that you want? So that you can kind of, test out the idea before going head in or head first into it. So thank you for that question, Bill.
I will take one or two questions from here just to clarify on the question from David earlier about global distribution. I think I see that the question had to do with the price difference between global distribution and if you're just selling it on Lulu. So, if you do want to sell it on Lulu and through global distribution, you can push it out through global distribution to have that option. And then if you want to sell it on Lulu without an ISBN, you can simply create a second project that's the same book and sell it on Lulu, and it won't have that global distribution markup. So you can do that. And then books, to actually truly delete them from admin, a book is retired if it's been sold. If a book has not been sold, or like you've never purchased one copy, it can be deleted. But if one copy is sold, then it is retired and it is still there. So, and then I'll take a question from Christopher as well. I want to send a copy or copies to reviewers or endorsers. Would I order copies for print and pay for everything? Then Lulu will distribute. What is the typical timeline to order a book and send it out? So for print on demand, the typical timeline for ordering a book is once an order is placed, it's going to be 3 to 6 days to print. And then there are a variety of shipping options from overnight. But again, overnight isn't going to be the overnight from the day of ordering. It's going to be the overnight from the day of printing. Or you can do, overnight, 2-day, priority, snail mail. It kind of depends on where the shipping address is. Since we're a global company, the shipping methods vary based on what different countries and locales accept. So if you want to send out copies for people to review or endorse, my suggestion would be to order the proof copy so you can see a copy of it before you send it out for review or endorsements. And then if you're happy with it from there, there are two things you can do. You can go into your Lulu account, input the person's address, and deliver a book straight to them. So it doesn't have to come to your house or wherever you are, and then you reship it. It would go directly to them. Now, that's an ideal process if the person or the recipient knows they're receiving the book. Now, let's say you're sending out 20 to 25 books to a variety of people on an unsolicited basis, which means they don't know they're receiving the book and you're hoping to gain a review or endorsement with them. I highly suggest putting in a cover letter inside of that. So in that case, you would want to order the amount of books that you're going to order for that. Because depending on the book trim size, if you order a higher quantity of 5 or 15, you see some discounts there. So let's say you're ordering 25 books, go ahead and order all 25 books to you, pop off the cover letters, and then an informational sheet that includes like metadata, which means the book synopsis, the ISBN, the publication date, the about the author, a picture of the cover. That's how it's done in the traditional world. So if you're hoping to gain endorsements, don't just have a book show up at somebody's house if they don't know it's coming. So there are two different ways to look at that.
Yeah, that's great insight. Yes. Yeah. Give them a preface of why this book is showing up on their porch if you're going that route.
Right.
Yeah. And so I'm going to grab a couple questions. See, Murphy is saying the requirements to upload your PDF file for your book has requirements that are not intuitive. Do you have more specific instructions to help the user? Yes, I will say a lot about publishing, especially independent publishing, doesn't seem intuitive. If you've never done it, it can be a very strange and unique beast, if you will. So yeah, we have a ton of information out on our website. So you can look at our YouTube channel. As I mentioned, we have interior and cover files set up videos there. Also, if you're working in Microsoft Word, perhaps we have some blog posts about formatting your manuscript in Microsoft Word. I also see that David had dropped in a note about the templates he says they're some of the best out there. His words, not mine. So thank you for that, David. And yeah, if you haven't looked at the templates are a great way to start. You can download those from any of our product pages. You can also go to our book pricing calculator, put in the specifications of your book, and then get the templates out that way and download them that way. So that can be a really good starting point to make sure that everything is going to be accepted when it comes time to upload. And I'll take one more question, and Sarah, I'll kick it back over to you.
Yeah.
So Michelle, I have a client who needs a copy of a previous book that we printed. How might I order another copy of that? And I saw your previous comment about your partner and you getting your company up and running again. So Michelle, I'll drop my email in the chat if you'd like to reach out to me, or it's actually right there on the slide as well, cbennett@lulu.com. So if you want to email me, I can put you in touch with our support team. If you have the title of the book or the project ID or any kind of information like that, that would be helpful as well. And we can see what we can do to get you get that product out to you or allow you to order another copy.
Great. I will take a question here. Denise said, will there be a replay? I joined late. Yes, there will be a replay. This will be available on our YouTube channel, typically within a day or two. Is that right, Chelsea?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But it'll be there if you want to re-listen to the whole thing. Yeah. So thank you, Bill, for saying that our hardcovers look good. We do take pride in creating a good product. As a lot of you know, we've been around for more than 20 years now. So we plan to stick around for a long time and always keep the focus on the author and quality. So definitely it's nice to hear you say that as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And David, I see your comment about spotting an error in one of the tracking emails that Lulu sent out. So yeah, if you could forward that to me again, you got my email address on the screen here. So thank you. We always like the citizen reporters or citizen scientists that are kind of digging into these things and making sure that we're, when you sell books, you want things to look right, especially when, typos and errors can be not great. So yeah, if you want to forward that email to me and just point out whatever you're seeing that you believe to be an error, then we would love to see that and have the opportunity to correct it. And thank you very much for bringing that to your attention. Oh, and I will also, Murphy, I see your question about our YouTube. What is the YouTube address? So I will go to the channel and go ahead and drop that in. And so we are getting to the end of our time together today. So I will do one more call for questions.
While we're waiting, I just want to give a shout out to Arlen if you're still on, because I was reading the comments and your comment says that you have a book that's called My Mother Has Alzheimer's and My Dog Has Tapeworms, A Caregiver's Tale. And I just think that's such a great title that encapsulates probably a struggle that a lot of people are going through. So yeah, I mean, to me, I always just love hearing what people are creating on Lulu. So, and then Edie, you've got the memory of health. There are a lot of books here just kind of going through. Just congratulations to you all for getting these books out. Thank you for using us.
Oh, Edie, the memory of health. I came to your house. I don't know if you remember that. Me and Matt came to your house in Portland, right? I think you let us come over. So Edie, if you're still on the call, yeah, thank you for letting us do that. Gosh, and me and Matt, our videographer wasn't in tow with us. So it was, we should have sent her out because you have a great story. But Arlen and Edie, these are such good examples of just the power of independent publishing. And when you have a story that is unique to you and being able to tell it and share it. And I think that's one of my favorite things that Lulu does. And that I think is so important is just giving people the ability to tell their stories that, that people need to hear, but for one reason or another, might not make it through the traditional pipeline. And David, I see one more question. Any update on the update on Lulu bookstore upgrades, HTML editing and etc. I don't have one currently. I know that we are constantly working to improve that process and make more opportunities for customization available to our authors. Again, David, if you want to send me an email after this, and I can check in with our dev team and see where that is on the roadmap. But thank you for keeping us honest and holding us to all that stuff to make sure that we're doing what we say we're going to do. So if you want to send me an email, then I will let you know the latest and greatest on that progress. Oh, Tiffany, thank you for sharing that. And actually, there is a woman that I came across just a couple of days ago. Her book is called Trigger Warning, but I don't know if you TikTok. I don't TikTok, but Lulu is starting to TikTok. And so Hard Truth maybe is the name of her book, but she published one book about some trauma she had gone through growing up. And I know that her second book that she's working on right now is also about parenting children with autism, I believe. So maybe a good connection. I believe her name is Alyssa. And if you go to, I think Lulu's TikTok page, then you may see where we shared that video, or I'll try to find her username as well, and try to drop that in there. But yeah, thank you for sharing. All right, so while I am finding or trying to find this link, one last call for questions here. Right. The link is somewhere in the ether. I will try to find it after that. But she is a Lulu author. I'll see if I can actually. Oh, I see her book right here. All right. So if you look up this author and you try to find her on TikTok, you may be a good connection for you. And again, Tiffany, if you're not able to find her, it took me a little while to actually find the author of that book. Again, her name is Alyssa. Her last name is escaping me. If you want to send an email, I can actually get her TikTok profile and send that to you. Might be a good way to support each other during the process. All right. So we do have a webinars landing page, webinars.lulu.com, that will have our upcoming webinars if you're interested in keeping up to date with us. So as we're coming on the end of the hour, I just want to thank all of you for tuning in. It always means so much to us that you want to take the time to learn from us. And I hope that we are providing information that is valuable to you. We'd love to hear your feedback on this. So Sarah, thank you for joining me today, coming along for the ride. And I hope that you all have a wonderful holiday weekend. Stay safe out there and enjoy hopefully an extra day off and a long weekend coming up. Sarah, any closing thoughts before we head out of here?
Thanks, everybody. It was such a pleasure talking with you.
Yes, thank you all so much. Have a wonderful Thursday. I like to call it Little Friday. Have a great Little Friday, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.